Hello, everyone. Here we are again. It's day 2 of our Meet the Filmmakers sessions. And today it's Thursday, February 28, which is exactly 3 weeks from our grand opening on March 16 at the Walter Reed Theater at the Lincoln Center in New York, celebrating our 10th anniversary edition. It's hard for me to pronounce those words, 10th anniversary, because I can't even begin to imagine where the years went and how we were able to survive this long, including 2 years of going exclusively online, namely 2020 and 2021, with COVID hitting and us having to in the first instance in 2020 improvise and go online. And it was so rudimentary. We used to send links to the people to watch the films and so on. And then in 2021, we figured it out how to do it on a streaming platform properly and so on. And last year was the first year when we went hybrid. We had 4 or 5 actually in-person days with an opening again at the Lincoln Center, then Cinema Village, and a closing event with the awards, and the rest went online. This year we became ambitious since it's our 10th anniversary. So we're in 10 different venues. We open at the Walter Reed Theater, as I said, at the Lincoln Center on March 16 with 5:30 p.m. red carpet, 6 o'clock the opening award ceremonies, and honor awards, which we are giving out this year to individuals and artists who made a huge difference and impacted society and people with their work, talking about social issues and advocating social issues. So this is basically our opening. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we go to Cinema Village, our little home in the village, and we screen a bunch of documentaries, narratives, and groups of shorts. And on the 20th, we come back uptown, and that section is called Rejoice, Resist, BIPOC Films and Filmmakers. And 20th, 21st, and 22nd, we have 4 different venues in which we screen films by Black, Indigenous, and people of color filmmakers and films that speak about these issues. And on the 23rd, we have our closing award ceremonies, which starts with a film. We have jazz, we have live music and singers, and also we have the award ceremonies. So it's quite a bit of program we have ahead of us. And today we are speaking with a group of filmmakers who are in one of these groupings. It's the short films block number 1, which is about families and adoption, and short films block number 2. These go on Friday and on Saturday, respectively. And the short block film number 2 is about health and health, homelessness, and health. So we're going to meet the filmmakers now, and they're going to tell you all about their films. So there we go. Hello, filmmakers. It's so wonderful to see you all here on the same screen and to talk about your films. So we'll take a quick round and go, let's say, to Susie, because that's how I'm seeing my screen from my end. And introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your film, and then we're going to come back and do a little bit more in-depth conversation about your projects. Yeah.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you for this opportunity. I am the founder and the filmmaker of The Metabolic Connection under the same name. And the short documentary addresses the obesity epidemic, the diet industry's contribution to the obesity epidemic. We talk to some doctors about the issues around obesity, and then people just like you, their history with dieting and the struggles, the shame and guilt, and more. So we're very excited to start the conversation and keep it going.
Great. Jake, you're mute. Yeah.
My name is Jake Isaacs, and my short film, The Count, is a documentary. For those who aren't aware, every year we do a homeless count in this country, and that's how funding is broken out by state, by county, by city council district. And so my short film follows a homeless agency that I interned at in South Los Angeles as they do the homeless count for a section of South Los Angeles, and it's done all in one night, so it's kind of a big event for them.
Yep. And Rachel?
Hi, thanks, Nora. I'm Rachel. I'm in the UK at the moment, and my film After Fred is a short film about a little old lady who lives in Oklahoma, and she escapes her violent husband after 60-year marriage. And it's about how she did it and what happens to her now and what she does. And she's amazing.
Yep. So, Joshua?
Hi, Nora. Thanks for having me. I'm Joshua Gunn, and I directed a narrative short animated film called Azúcar. It is about a mother and her son who are attempting to cross into the United States one evening in South Texas. And it's about the memories they have of why they left Honduras to attempt this crossing, and what they find on the other side.
T?
Hi, I'm T. Schneider, and I'm the writer and director of a short film named Little Bird, which is about a little girl in the foster system who is fighting for a home and the village of women that surround her. And we like to think of it as an ode to caregivers and the tough girls who just keep putting one foot in front of the other despite impossible circumstances and decisions.
Great. And Catherine?
Hi, I'm Kathy Rosselli. I'm the producer director of Farm to Families, which focuses on food, essentially about food insecurity. I was shocked to find out that 1 in 4 families in the United States actually experiences it. And it follows our community in Southern Oregon and how they created a food box program through the schools to feed families.
Right. Chewy?
Hi, I'm Chuy Garza. I'm the director of Tribe, or Tribu in Spanish. This is a short documentary about a family adopting 2 teenagers, which is sort of like a new thing or new topic in Mexico.
Yep. And Alexandrine? Microphone? Your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Hello. Thanks for having me. My name is Alexandrine Benjamin. I am the director and producer of Nabule, which English translation is Through the Barricades. The short film follows the journey of a pregnant couple who struggles, day and night to get into a hospital so that the woman can deliver safely. So that's basically it. Thank you.
Yeah. They are all fascinating films. And when we watch these films, the problem we are faced with is not which films to include, it's which films to exclude, because we don't have unlimited screen time. Even on the online section, we are limited by X number of hours. Of course, we can get more hours, but all depends on funding and how much money we have and all that. And it becomes such a tough decision to make. We first go with choosing the films based on yes, no, maybe, yes, no, maybe. And then, of course, the no's basically are because of production values or because the idea was good, but somehow it didn't make it to the screen and something like that. And then once those are eliminated, then we have the maybes, which we set aside just so we are able to go back to. And if we have a grouping that are on the same theme and something is missing, we have somewhere to go and find that missing link. But basically, it's all the yeses. And then we go, oh my God, how are we going to choose between all this? So it's really a fun process for us, and it's a huge learning curve. I have learned so much about all these matters and issues that you talk about. Like Jake, for example, I had no idea that there was something like that, counting, you know, and it all happens on one night. It's just unbelievable, etc. Each one of your films have become like a university degree for me. So thank you so much. So the next question is to everyone, and whoever wants to jump in can. Don't want to go like in a school one by one in the same order. So let's talk about, how did you get the idea of this film, and how long did it take you to bring it to fruition, from idea to actually making it happen on the screen? Whoever wants to take a go at it, please go for it.
I'm happy to start. I live in Ashland, Oregon, which is quite a filmmaking community. And there was an email sent out that the Farm to Families program was looking for a pro bono filmmaker to document the food box program that they had secured. So USDA had a food box program throughout the United States, and it typically went to large organizations. And Farm to Families, Farm to School is a small local organization, and we partnered with a local organic farm to actually submit a proposal to USDA, and we're quite shocked that in fact it was accepted. So during COVID, the food insecurity went way up, and the organization, our small organization, pivoted from teaching gardening education in the schools to providing food to be distributed through the school system. So families came into the schools. No, they were no longer in classrooms to pick up food. And this happened for the entire summer in 2020. Afterwards, there was a devastating fire in our area, and that program continued. But it was just, it's a tribute to a community that came together to solve a problem. And I was really honored to be able to pull that film off, actually from start to finish in 3 months. It's the fastest film I've ever put together with 2 other wonderful women collaborators. Thank you so much.
Well, I'll go next because mine's the direct opposite of what happened with Catherine. So I'm an editor, and I was editing a charity piece about domestic violence for someone in Arkansas, and I live in the UK, so it was just a friend of a friend. And there was this extraordinary story of this old lady who was 83 escaping from her husband. This is her. Here she is, Charlotta. And it was the most amazing story. And the editor I was working for at the time, I said, can you give me some money? Can you give me some money so I can see if I can go and make a short film about this, which is what I did. And that was in 2012. That was in 2012. And I started doing that, but then I got distracted by a sort of another film which I made, a feature film which I made in the meantime, which she is part of, but it was about child custody, and it's a very issue-based film. And then last year I thought, well, I shall come back and do Charlotta's film, because she actually deserves a whole series, really, because she's so extraordinary. And so that was when I came back and just concentrated on her story, which is just wonderful, and she's such a treat. And so I went back and filmed a bit with her, and and we write to each other quite a lot, so that's nice. But yes, so it was that long. It was probably 10 or 11 years.
Wow. And you stuck with it because it's a fascinating story, and a story that wants to be told will wait the time it takes to
exactly. And she's still going, so I felt I was beholden to do the work for her, but she was happy because it sidetracked to a much bigger project with a lot more issues involved, but she really deserved this film for herself. So I'm really chuffed that I did that.
Cool. Great. Anyone else who wants to share? Yeah, Alexandrine.
Right. So my film was made as part of my university degree in the UK. I was studying in London, and then we were supposed to work on a final project. But then when in December, it was too cold because I'm from the Caribbean, so I'm not used to cold weather. So I wanted to go back to my home country, which is Haiti, so that I can warm up a little bit. But the situation of the country was crazy. We had this social movement called Pay Lock, where all the roads are blocked, and then people cannot really travel. So I went in the Dominican Republic instead, which is another country on the same island. And then I was talking to my friend and colleague Ricardo, who happened to be the co-script writer of the film, and we were talking about the fact, the way that Haiti is going down and down, and then we were talking about the situation, and we were like, oh my God, I could, instead of, because I wanted to do my short film, my final project on a little girl about who wanted to dance a voodoo dance, and her parents didn't want that, and I was like, I think doing Nabule, presenting that situation, that paylock situation on the screen will be so much better. I will be able to do my final project, my thesis, and then doing a project that can at the same time sensitize people about the situation in Haiti, because when people are protesting, they are protesting because they feel like they are being used. But at the same time, when you are protesting and then you are blocking roads, you can actually do, harm to other people. So you can you can kill somebody. So when we watch the film, we can see that pregnant woman and her husband trying to get to a hospital, and then they couldn't because there are other people protesting, so they block the roads. So I thought it was a really good idea to try to put that on screen so that other people, even outside of Haiti, can see and try to understand the situation. And at the same time, I know that a lot of time people are seeing the news in Haiti, they see that people are being killed, but they don't really get a chance to enter the home of those persons, to understand that those persons, they had a life before being killed by gangs or whatever. So yeah, that's how the idea came. And I started to write in February, and it took me between 3 to 4 months to write the whole things because of the university, because I had to write and rewrite so that it could fit in 15 minutes, even though at the end it was 21 minutes, but that's basically it. And we shot in 10 days.
Yeah, wow. It's very interesting because the news usually are more focused on statistics, on X number of people were killed, this happened, like the sensationalist part of it. Whereas in documentary films, we delve into the actual lives of these people and realize that it's not just numbers, it's not just an incident, it's real people's lives. And that's why we love what we do, because the festival is focused on real people, real life stories, and human interest stories, as we like to call them. Next, who's next? We want more stories.
I'd like to say something.
Please.
So my project was also partly for a school. I'd worked in the film industry for a little over a decade, and then I went back and I got my master's in social work. And this was a class that was documentary filmmaking for social work, and I decided to do it. Well, I was interning as a student at in homelessness, and I didn't know what the homeless count was. So every year they count literally block by block how many people there are, and it's very specific. You know how many people, like men, women over 18 or under 18, tent, makeshift shelters, vans, cars. It's very specific, and it's needed because that's how they decide how to break up money from HUD, for funding from federal government, from state government, down to the county level, to the city council level, to the district level, and so it has to all be done in one night because people are transient. So it's this very huge operation, and I was surprised because I had never even heard of this event until I started working in homelessness at a homeless agency, and I like to think of myself as, a socially conscious person. So um, I went back to school with the intention of making films with some sort of social issue focus after I graduated, and I knew I wanted to take this class that they offered, and so I thought this might be a good idea to bring to the class. But I didn't. The class was from January to May, and the count was supposed to be in like the second week of January, so it wouldn't work to film for the class. And then because of COVID, the schedules got shift weird, and so the count was going to be in February. So I had like a tiny bit of buffer, and I had time to pitch this idea to my class and get it approved and film in time. So we actually we shot it and edited it and released it all in just like a couple months. And yeah, that's the story.
Wow, that's interesting because when a film wants to be born, it will.
Yeah.
Nothing can hold it back. It's like a baby coming out of a mom's womb.
But another thing I wanted to add, though, and maybe this is part of another question, but what was really important to me about making this is that um, the media that I see about homelessness is usually about the despair. It's usually about heartbreak and despair of individual stories, or about the weight and the size and the scale of this awful traumatic issue. Or in narrative media, lots of times unhoused individuals are the butt of a joke, or they're ridiculed. Um, and what I wanted to show is the people that are working to end homelessness, because living in Los Angeles, we see it a lot, and I know a lot of people here. Like, a very common opinion is, why don't we do something? Why aren't we doing anything? And it's like, we're doing a lot. It's just a way bigger, more complicated problem than you understand or have ever even bothered to take the time to understand. So, you know, part of this part of the way of telling this story is like from the point of view of social workers and what we are doing, and showing them as like, superheroes, rather than showing the problem as this like awful thing, showing the people doing work as a positive force.
Yeah, it's really amazing. As I was saying, it's the opposite side of the coin of what the news and Hollywood might show us. And this is when we really approach the human element on a human level and want to tell the stories. Next, who's next? We don't want to run out of time. Yep, Susie.
Hi, I'm so excited. I'm going to try to streamline what I want to tell. So I'm new to this space. I have been an eating psychology coach and worked with individuals for the last 7 years. And so I'm new to the filmmaking space. And the way that it came up was 2 years ago, I made a decision that I wanted to start a conversation with as many people over the course of the summer as I possibly could to figure out how to make this conversation on a much bigger level. Because for better and for worse, there's not a lot of people talking about America and the worldwide relationship with food and the obesity epidemic in the way that I am. So to make a long story short, I started talking to a lot of people at the beginning of the summer, and by the end of the summer, I had a conversation with the director, Angelique Letizia, and her husband, Joe, with Star Films, and they said this needs to be a documentary. So two things. One is I greenlit it. I took care of this myself, and we shot the whole thing in 48 hours and interviewed a lot of people about medical issues and their relationship with food and so on. And so in just under 10 minutes, it tells a bunch of different perspectives, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the goal later on. But this is a worldwide issue. We keep saying that this is an American issue, and while our relationship with food and the obesity epidemic is certainly here in America on a very big level, we're now seeing problems worldwide. One of the things that I talk about all the time now is that this doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. It doesn't matter if you went to an Ivy League school or no school, income levels, or the kind of music you listen to. Our generational disordered relationship with food runs across the gamut for many, many people. And the effect of our disordered relationship with food affects our health, our mental health, and our physical health as well. So I'm very, very excited. I'll tell you a little bit more about the goal of the bigger part of the picture, but it's one thing I will say is it's resonating with a lot of people, but I'm also noticing over the last year, it was 1 year that it took from start to finish for a whole bunch of reasons, but it's also an interesting trigger for a lot of people because everybody is comfortable talking about what diet they're on or what shake they've taken or whatever gym they're going to. But our relationship with food starts from a very, very young age, and it's no slam against our parents and their parents, but it's my opinion that it's where it really begins. Our issues with weight and food relationship and so on. So anyway, that's kind of the overview of it, but we're very excited to have it start a much bigger conversation.
Yeah, that is really, really, really interesting. Again, as you see, we have a wide range of subjects here, and it's fascinating. For me, it's such a huge learning process, and I urge our audience, maybe I will take this opportunity and show them where they can go for information on these wonderful films and where they can purchase tickets to come and see them. We have an online section as well. There is the in-person screenings that go from the 16th opening until the 19th. And then we go uptown for the rest of the BIPOC section, Rejoice Resist films. And then on the 24th, the whole lot, with the exception of one or two, a few films that they didn't want to go online. Everything else is offered to the audience who is not able to come to the cinema or maybe is not in New York. So this is a wonderful opportunity. So it reaches a much bigger audience. So, and here it is. When you go on our website, you'll find the information on all these films and links. So next, who wants to share their story about how the film came about?
I can go next.
Yep. Please.
Okay, so Tribe is a short documentary that was born when my older sister, and her husband decided to adopt a teenager. He was 13 years old, and then along the planning and everything, they decided to adopt a second teenager. He was 17 years old, and then I found out about the situation that teenagers, after they turn 18, have to go through in Mexico. The houses where they are, they have only their responsibility to take care of them until they reach 18. So after that, they are on their own, basically. So We wanted to talk about adoption in Mexico, which is a very like primitive topic still. Like nobody really talks about it enough yet. But more specifically, we wanted to talk about adoption of teenagers in Mexico and teenagers in this transition. You know, we have one teenager of 14, 13 years old, and another one who's about to turn 18, and what he's going to do with his life. And he had the privilege to join a family just on time before getting, to the streets or whatever. And but thousands of teenagers don't have the same opportunity. So this is a very uh, private look. It's a family portrait, but it's also trying to speak from the private to the general idea of this social issue. And yeah, I mean, it was a very personal story since it's part of the family.
See, that's interesting because this year we had a good number of films that were about adoption. And on Friday, we have a feature film, one of the documentaries, which is called Only Child. And that's a Canadian film, and it's part of the Voices of Canada section, Spotlight. And it's an Irish person, I mean, of extraction, who, with just the name of her birth mother, after 20 years of a search, oh my God, I'm getting emotional, goes to Dublin and in the end connects and finds their biological mother. So it was an amazing story. And then Little Bird is also about adoption, and your film. And I'm like, wow, we have to do a section on adoption. So it's not, I'm often asked whether, how do we choose the themes? They always ask me, okay, so this year, what's the theme this year? And I have to tell them that we don't choose the themes ahead of time. We don't decide, okay, let's talk about this or that this year. We let the filmmakers themselves tell us what kind of films, what kind of themes they want us to focus on. So when the submissions are made and when we make our selection of which are the films that we actually want to promote and show and screen, we look and see what are the themes that are floating to the surface. And amazingly, we always find that great spirits think alike sort of thing, and similar themes come together. And that's a wonderful moment when we feel, wow, look, this film is about the theme, but it's in a different angle. And this one treated the same situation from a still another angle. So that is really an amazing, and it's one of the rewarding parts of being on this end of the festival. Okay, so who do we have? Joshua and I guess, yeah, that's it, right? Joshua. Oh, and T didn't go. Okay, one of you first and the other next.
I'll stay on the theme of adoption here. We might as well. In 2018, I went to a baby shower, or more of a welcoming party for two friends who had finally been blessed with a small child in their family, in their adoption journey. And at that party, they told a harrowing story that they had been through a few months earlier about a disrupted adoption, which is something that at the time I didn't know anything about. I didn't even know that this happened. And in fact, it happens with relative frequency. The numbers are skewed because a lot of disrupted adoptions are not reported. But in Ontario here, where I am, I'm in Toronto, the numbers, they estimate anywhere between 5 and 20% of adoptions are disrupted, which means that for whatever reason, whether it's the choice of the biological parent or whether the choice of the adopting family, the adoption doesn't go through. And so I felt like that was a story that needed to be, and an issue that needed to be explored. And so I started doing some research, and through the course of that research, I ended up happening upon a bunch of stats about caregivers in our society, and essentially learning that the brunt of caregiving work globally, of low paying and unpaid caregiving, is borne by women. And in fact, so much so that if women in our society went on a caregiving strike, our economy would take an immeasurable hit because of the cost of that free and low paid labor. And so further to that, being somebody who is already very involved in women's issues, I realized that it was very difficult to tell a story about women's issues without them being somewhat intertwined. And so this is how we ended up with this story of adoption, disrupted adoption, invisible illness, the fallout of depression, substance abuse, and motherhood ultimately, and in our hopes to honor caregivers and, like I said earlier, tough girls that just keep putting one foot in front of the other despite the circumstances that they face and the impossible decisions that women are often placed in. And so, yeah, that sort of sums up. We in 2018, I was writing it. In 2019, in the fall, we shot it. The pandemic hit. In 2021, we finished it in June of 2021, and now it's been on the festival circuit. Sort of. We premiered at Cinefest in Sudbury in 2022.
Yeah. And also I was struck by the little girl. She's so amazing,
So thank you. I'll jump in there because she's actually my daughter.
Oh, wow.
She was 7 at the time. And prior to having my daughter, I suffered a miscarriage. And so that was also very much the only way that I could process this idea of disrupted adoption was through my experience with miscarriage, because it's so unimaginable what both sides of that disrupted adoption go through. And that was sort of my way into connecting to that. But yes, she's my daughter. She works regularly now as an actor, but that was our first project together. And it was, like a life highlight to get to direct your 7-year-old to lead a short film like that.
For me, it's like, as an actor, I can't be indifferent to some of the narrative features. So far, I mean, we have quite a number, except Rachel's film, After Fred, is not and Azúcar is an animation, but the others are all documentaries. And I'm always fascinated with the acting, of course, and there's such a learning process. And I must say that I am happy because last year we had a great Finnish film from Finland by Raksk Rinikangas, who is a well-known photographer and filmmaker and all that. And then as a result, I ended up playing the female lead in his film, which I just finished filming in Spain. And that was one of the pluses, the side benefits, because we're all volunteers. So I felt, okay, don't complain. So I was very happy to end up doing that. So Joshua, tell us about your project.
Thanks, Nora. And thanks so much for everyone sharing their films. It's been great to learn about them. So I run a small animation studio here in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And the way this film came together, it's just under 8 minutes long, was that it was sort of a number of flows came into the studio and ended up with this film. The first was that in 2019, we weren't working remotely, and we were in a shared studio space with a painter named George Bard. And he and I got to talking about how, for 15 years I'd been, and the studio had been doing commercial work, and it was really time for us to really to really try our hand at doing a narrative project and seeing what we were capable of in that regard, and what we could learn from that. And around that time, I was really emotionally impacted by what was going on at the southern U.S. border. I was really appalled by the sensationalism and kind of demonization of immigrants there, and deeply affected by that. And then the other influence that came in is that my art director Jen is a first generation American, and her parents immigrated here from Colombia. So and then George, through his networks of people, knew someone who in the past few years had come across the border and had a deeply personal story to tell about it. So we sort of combined Jen's experience and the experience of this individual that we interviewed with our sort of personal kind of empathy for the experience of immigrants, and that became this film essentially. And I'm an only child of a single mother, and the story is about a mother who, with her young child, are attempting to cross one evening, and they face various problems, and then we find out what happens on the other side, and it's sort of an open-ended question about what their future will be at the end of the film. But it was a deeply personal project, and essentially tried to take a very individual experience and universalize it in an attempt to kind of create empathy for these people who are sort of abstract and demonized. And that was the most important thing to me about the project.
It's so interesting because, as I was saying earlier, that the personalizing, and not only personal and personalized about the subject of the person about whom the film is, that the trigger of where this is coming from is from a very personal place in the filmmaker's experiences. So that is the most successful. When that happens, it's the most successful. And whether it's narrative or documentary, I've been looking at these films for the past 10 years and even before, because I used to do guest curating for a bunch of festivals internationally before I ended up doing the Socially Relevant Film Festival, despite all my promises to myself that I would never do a film festival, because I know what it means and how crazy work it is and all that. But to say that gets to the heart of the viewer is something that can come from the heart of the filmmaker. There aren't two ways about it. This is the only way. And immediately you can tell. Sometimes we feel that there are some narrative films that people, did a lot of work and put up effects, and production values might be good, but it somehow leaves you indifferent because you can feel that they are not connected really to the subject of what it is that they are telling us about. They are just wanting to make a movie, and that's it, not organically connected to it.
Well, I think that's so wonderful about what you're doing, Nora, and I deeply appreciate it, because I think media that comes from the heart and comes from it seeks to humanize our experiences is something that's not celebrated in the mainstream media. So I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you. It makes me get out of bed in the morning or not go to bed at night.
Well, I think it has to be.
I'm going to stop for a second and read some of the wonderful comments that the audience has put for us. We have Samuel Axius, who says, "Go, Alex." And then Desir Lovely, "Wow." Fuego Cruzado, "Good, Chewy." Desir also says, "Go, girl." Katia Desir says, "Go, sister." Dioela Jean-Louis, good job, team Napboul. Carmi Gomez, Tribu. Santerre Marie-André Neftali says, I love you, Alexandrine. Santer Marie-André Naftali Napboul aussi. Ya iba con esta a la escuela. Okay, I hope I'm reading that correctly. Then Jean-Louis Ketty, bravo, Alex. Vas-y, Marianne. Proud of you, Alex. And then Rachel says, what a cool bunch of people. And Video Kiss Dam says, yay, Josh. So this is so cool. And I hope everybody gets a chance to see everybody else's films. If you're not in town and you can't catch it in person, then after the 24th, you'll have a chance to see it online. And maybe this would be an opportunity. That's why at the first stage of the selection, we put all the filmmakers' names at BCC when we send out the invitation, the news that they are in pre-selection. But once everybody is in the selection, we go and put everybody's emails out there because we feel this is an opportunity for all the filmmakers to start networking with each other already. And that's the whole idea, to bring everyone together. So we have about another 13 minutes left. So we can quickly address the question of what brought you to Socially Relevant Film Festival, and maybe you can answer in the same way, what is your next project? So we don't go around and around again. How did you choose this festival, and what are your expectations, and what is your next project? Yeah.
Can I go first?
Of course, yes.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to say, because they are asking me to be on camera, that I'm a high school teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so also on my free time, I try to make films and stuff. So maybe my next project is going to be about like mental health after pandemics in teenagers or something like that. Some sort of documentary about this issue. And what brought me here? We were looking for a space where we can meet other filmmakers with the same urge to like denounce a social problem, and we were looking for human rights festivals and social festivals, and I don't know, that's it. Thank you, Nora, for this.
Thank you so much for sharing your students with us. Show them again. We want to see them. And
Say
are
hi.
they in New York? Hi.
We're in the northern part of Mexico.
Ah, okay. You're far away. You're
Yeah.
not in New York. Otherwise, I would have said they can come and see the films free of charge. We have free tickets for students.
School trip, maybe.
Next year. Wow, this is amazing. Amazing. Okay, who wants to? Yeah, Susie?
So my why of the film festival is on the screen right here. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Every single story that you have shared has given me goosies and brought tears to my eyes. And, we all need to be part of a bigger conversation. And, to your point about, I have two teenagers, and one's 20, and teenagers are really struggling with mental health right now. So anyway, I think that's an amazing idea. But that's the reason. I think that all the stories that you have shared is my why on why the film festival. And my why on my film is, I was thinking about this as all of you were speaking, the stories that I have heard, some uplifting, but many absolutely heartbreaking, of generational issues with not just weight, but again, what we all do, no matter where we are in the world. There's one thing, well, there's a lot of things that unite us, but there's one thing that we all do, which is eat. And we should all love to eat. Food is nourishing, it's energy, it's breaking bread with family. And unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, some of which I hit upon in the film, it's all changed. And the diet industry, along with a lot of other things, but the diet industry has been a huge contributor to our dysfunction. And one other thing, just very quickly, that isn't talked about in the film, but I talk about it in other presentations, that it's really only been about the last 100 years that our relationship with food has changed in the way that it has. So, so that's my why on my why.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And who wants to? Yeah, Alexandrine.
Yes. The reason why I choose, the socially relevant film festival. The first thing was I was a little bit intrigued by the name of the festival, but more deeply, I was looking for festivals that actually care about the films, because most of the times people that organize festival, they just want to screen the filmmakers film and make money, and they don't care. And the real reason why is on the screen. And I wanted festival that actually who want to give a voice to the filmmakers, take time to know and understand why they make their movie, and making sure that those movies are being seen, not just screen the film and then that's it. So that's the reason, and I think I am already satisfied. Thank you for that moment. And then my next project is it's a feature film, and it explores the AIDS subject. People who are being how do you say that? Because they are
Vous
sick.
pouvez dire en français, je traduirai.
Oh, vous parlez français? Regarde-moi
Oui,
ça.
couramment.
En français. Ce sont des gens qui sont malades, qui ont le VIH/SIDA et qui sont très mal vus, vous voyez, parce que voilà, c'est de la discrimination. Donc, les gens en Haïti et dans d'autres pays, beaucoup de fois sous-développés, ils pensent que quelqu'un qui a le VIH/SIDA, c'est quelqu'un qui n'est pas approchable. C'est comme si la vie de cette personne est terminée, tu vois, il n'y a plus de vie. Donc, ce qu'on essaie vraiment
Her next film is about people with AIDS in Haiti, specifically in societies where there is a stigmatization of people with AIDS, and they think that if somebody has AIDS, then they are not approachable. They should not be included in anything in society. And her next film is a feature film which deals with this, the AIDS epidemic, and how it is viewed basically in society.
And we will try to basically give them hope and let them know that, it's not the end. You still have a whole journey in front of you, and that you should just go. Don't give up. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So next, who wants to? Yeah.
I wanted to jump in because I feel such a connection with all of you, and then especially Susie. Your conversation about the relationship with food. The second half of the Farm to Families film focuses on the farm to school movement that is nationwide, and is a powerful program to teach kids where their food comes from. They actually have school gardens. They prepare dishes from the food they pick. And a big purpose of that is educating kids about their food, and they go home and teach their parents. And we've seen some real shifts in the eating habits of the families. So there are solutions, there are people really working on solutions to the obesity problem and the difficult relationship with food. So I love that connection that really, I think our two films show, a problem and one of the ways to approach solutions. And my next film is celebrating fathers and babies.
Wow, that is amazing, because usually it's mothers and babies. So it's like fathers and babies. Yeah. And your two films, it's true, they are very complementary and kind of linked together. That's why I have put them in the same program. All right, who do we have next? We have 5 more minutes and we still have time to share and talk. Yep, Joshua.
Yeah, I'll just go real quick. We are working on expanding this into additional episodes that highlight refugee issues around the world. So what we'd really like to do is find deeply personal stories, for example, in Ukraine, in Korea, the North-South Korea divide, from Syria, and from other areas of the world where there's just an incredible number of people who are moving in this world to try to attempt to find a better life. And we want to find the sort of personal stories that universalize that experience around the world.
That's wonderful. If
Yeah.
you need voices, please let me know.
Okay.
I speak about 6 languages and I'm doing
Oh, that's lovely. Thank
all
you.
sorts of voices and accents and you name it.
Yeah.
Right, Jake.
Yeah, so I found this fest because I was looking for specifically socially relevant film festivals. And because I want to meet other filmmakers like that, because that's the kind of filmmaker I want to be. I've been to film festivals before, and the best part about it is meeting other filmmakers. But I just went to grad school to get my social work degree, and I want to make more films with some sort of impact element to it. And I've been starting to do that. I'm a producer on a couple projects right now that have some sort of element to it. And the way I describe it, I have a production company that's called Peanut Butter Dog Pill. So the idea is like there's some element of the story that's important. That's like the medicine, and then the entertainment is the peanut butter. Like when you have to give your dog medicine, but they won't eat it unless it's wrapped in peanut butter. So this is actually the only doc that I've done. I'm in post production on. I did a television pilot about someone living with a physical condition. I'm post production on a absurdist comedy on domestic violence, and I'm in pre-production on like a government sort of farce like parody, and I'm gonna be directing a short comedy on teen mental health.
Wow, that is quite interesting. And you did it through social work, and my first master's degree is sociology. So, of course, I've been acting since I was 15, but my first from the London School of Economics, nonetheless, is in sociology. And then recently, before COVID, but I graduated during COVID online. I didn't get a commencement. I did a second master's degree, this time in theater, even though I've been a theater person all my life, but I felt I did need to go back and fill in the blanks and have a general overview. So I got that second.
Also, one thing, sorry, real quick. All the projects I was describing are comedies. This is the only doc. Like I have a comedy background. I did stand up. I did sketch writing. Those are all written comedies, but with like that sort of story underneath.
Yeah. And also it's possible to be socially relevant and talk about social issues through comedy. One of the films we have, The Anxiety of Laughing, is funny, and it's about disabilities. And we've had in the past as well, like films like that. Okay, we have 1 minute left, but I can allow a couple of minutes longer because we started 1 minute late. So who wants to share why they came here? Yes, Rachel?
Hey, yeah. Oh, it's so exciting. I can't wait to meet all of you. I picked the Socially Relevant Film Festival because I've got this super precious story of this amazing woman, and I feel very responsible, and I want it to be in, and it's very socially relevant. And I just want it to have a really lovely home, and to be. I've been to lots of film festivals, and I didn't want to be in a place where it's all elbows trying to get to the top kind of thing. I wanted to be amongst people like this, and I wanted to be inspired, and I think I've been inspired tonight already. And I'm really excited to come. I'm coming from the UK, and I'm going to New York. So I hope to meet some of you there. The next project I'm doing, I've been trying to find something closer to home that isn't Oklahoma in America, because I live in Bath, and I had a meeting yesterday with a bunch of mad people who want to find spaces in around this part of Britain and rewild them and grow food, and the council are helping them do it. And it sounds like an insane project that's going to go on for a year. So that might be my next project.
That
Can I
is
ask
so
Can I ask a
cool.
quick question?
Yeah.
I'm curious about who is going to be in New York amongst us.
Yeah.
I will be. So
yeah, well, please
Cool.
make sure if you are in New York to be there on opening night, because all the filmmakers that are available, we're going to invite them on stage to take a bow with everybody. And later on, we have also happy hours and networking opportunities scheduled. I haven't emailed you about them yet, because at this point is my goal is to get the films. Hey, look who's here. So,
it's the same person,
so definitely it's part of the experience. Who didn't go? Yep.
T.
I chose the festival. I think at the point where I was creating the story, I was feeling a saturation with the way that we contextualize the notion of heroism in our society. And so that has been fundamental to the creation of the project since the beginning. So in looking for festivals where it felt appropriate to screen Little Bird, the title of this festival seemed a really obvious fit, and a place where I could connect with other filmmakers that sort of shared that vision, and a festival that shared that vision. So, mission accomplished here already. So that's been great. In terms of upcoming projects, I'll be super quick. I have a few. I am co-developing a documentary with a talented filmmaker based in LA named Paula Jean Hickson called Count Me In, which is about the erasure of aging women in screen-based media. I have another documentary concept that I'm working on about anaphylaxis in the context of being a disability, which is unrecognized in our society. And I am the parent of a child who lives with anaphylaxis. I have a feature comedy dramedy that is about an aspiring filmmaker who attempts to heal her family's collective broken heart and the communication divide played by through the magic of filmmaking, and that's called Penny Bigelow Makes a Movie. And I just finished voice directing a podcast proof of concept pilot based on it's a historical fictionalized true crime drama based on a murder that was never solved in Vancouver, a real life murder. A young Scottish nursemaid was murdered and the case was never solved. And it's an exploration of racism and classism in 1920s Vancouver and mid-century Vancouver as well. And that's called Ostler. And we just submitted that to our first festival as well. So,
wow. Everybody's doing such incredibly interesting work. And oh my God, this is amazing. So please do your films and come back and show them again at the Socially Relevant Film Festival. So we are a bit over time, but I need to wrap and say thank you so much, everyone, for being with us in this session. And also thank you very much, everyone. We had a huge turnout and we have some incredible comments here. Since this session is about family and adoption and mothers and daughters and families, I have an Andrezi Agena message. Go, my daughter Alex. So there you go. And then Nabul. Very nice.
Nabule is the Creole translation for Through the Barricades. That actually
Nabule. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. I will end the broadcast now because we're really gone over time. Even though with the YouTube things, you can listen where you want, you can focus where you want, but I need to mention that we have $7 early bird tickets and passes that are still on at this point, which are a fantastic deal. You can't even buy a latte these days for $7. And you can see all the films And of course, as filmmakers, you have your invitations and badges and everything. If you have filled out the accreditation form, your badges will be waiting for you. Thank you all very, very much. And I'm going to go off, end the broadcast, but we can still chat for a few minutes if you would like.